Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome. My name is Jason Starr with Talentis. It's my pleasure to be your host for the next 20 minutes while I share my hair care tips with you. So, once again, thank you. My name is Jason Starr. I'm with Talentis, and I'm here to talk to you with a webinar under the title Where Executive Search Meets Vidal Sassoon. So, I'm guessing the first question I need to answer is, what the heck? What are you on about? So, for those of you that are not aware, the Vidal Sassoon reference relates to an advertising campaign which was around when I was a much younger man, and basically it was run by this company Vidal Sassoon, and they put forward a product that was an all-in-one solution for hair care. And the advertising slogan was something like, why take two bottles into the shower when you only need to take one? And the idea was that by using this single product, you could save money, be more efficient, and broadly speaking, get the same end result. Now, you're obviously asking yourself, what's that got to do with executive search? And I promise you, there is a rationale behind the use of that analogy, and I will explain that to you shortly. But before I get onto that, I'd like to share some context or some data with you. Late last year, we partnered with our friends at Digby Edwards, Tom Crowford. They're a company that helps search firms do business, sort of operational support. We to do a global survey, and we spoke to search firms all over the world and asked them a variety of questions on a variety of topics. One of the big areas we focused on was the state of the market. And we asked, the market has been difficult, whether it's getting better or not, you'll have your own view on, but certainly most people would be of the view last year was challenging. And we asked people, okay, well, in a downturn, if your market is difficult, what's the first thing you ditch? And I was disgusted, I tell you, to see software was right at the top of the list of areas that people were saving money. But we've ended a follow-up question, and this is probably slightly more pertinent. The follow-up question asked, when things improve, what's the first thing you're going to spend money on? And technology wasn't among the top results, it was the top result on this particular question. Now, obviously, you will have your own view on whether we've recovered, whether the market is getting better or not. I know for some of our clients, it's still pretty horrible. For some, it is getting better. But I think in most places, people are, broadly speaking, of the view it's not getting any worse, but a bit nervous for what might happen down the track. And where it comes to expenditure, I don't think there's anyone out there that's looking to throw money around. I think everybody is trying to achieve more while spending, ideally, less money. And I think that's the context of our webinar today. So let's just talk briefly about the tech stack that a search business would typically use. Obviously, you would start with a LinkedIn recruiter license, probably, perhaps Recruiter Lite, maybe Sales Navigator. You'd probably have an ATS or a CRM system. You might have some kind of contact data tool, so Contact Outlash or one of those. You've got your office software, you've got your phone, you've got your account system, and so on. So, but I'm going to focus our time today on the two big ones, which is the CRM, ATS database, whatever you want to call it, and LinkedIn Recruiter. Now, when I was preparing this presentation, it struck me that we always look at these products as being entirely different. They are entirely different, but from a distance, they're very similar. You use LinkedIn, or LinkedIn exists to store information on people and companies. Your CRM is used in the context of executive search to store information on people and companies. In both cases, you can store a degree of project type data, projects in LinkedIn or assignments or whatever it might be called in your CRM system. So they are broadly similar, but they come at it from a different direction. LinkedIn, of course, is, from a search firm's perspective, great for retrieving info, but it's not so good for storing info. On the other side, the CRM, it doesn't have anything in to start with, but once you put it in, you can retrieve it. So it's all about storing information. So are either of these products, as they exist right now, suitable as a standalone answer? I suggest probably not. And let me just validate that. In terms of LinkedIn, we're not going to talk about how good or bad a product LinkedIn is, but the most fundamental issue with LinkedIn is the commercial one. LinkedIn licenses, you'll never own your data. The data in LinkedIn, if you want to leave LinkedIn to go and use someone else's platform, you cannot extract all of your data. You just can't, not if you're using LinkedIn Recruiter. And so you are forever tied to the monopoly that is Microsoft and LinkedIn. And if they tell you next year they're going to double your prices and tie you into a 3-year contract, you're going to accept that or you're going to lose your data. And if you hire a new person, that's several thousand more dollars that have to go to LinkedIn the following year. So regardless of the quality of the product, LinkedIn is a strategic challenge for a search firm to base its entire business around, and an expensive one. And as I say, on the other side, the CRM, the ATS system, well, on day one, it's got virtually no data in. And even if you've been using the data for your system for 10 years, the chances are the data is still a subset of what's in LinkedIn and is relevant to you. And of course, the data in LinkedIn is often, not always, more up to date than the data in your local database. So essentially, you still need LinkedIn. So again, that's not solving our problem for us. And when you take the two products together, you have another level of overhead. You know, the duplication, the fact that LinkedIn is designed to irritate recruiters, as far as I can see, when it comes to working with other products. The fact you're paying for two products, you're paying someone to go backwards and forwards between the two, not a great solution. So the question is, how do we get from here, where we're paying for two products, to a world where we only need to pay for one? And it's a bit of work, and it's a process. It's not an off-the-shelf thing you can go and get. But what I'm going to try and do today is talk about the Vidal Sassoon analogy and the idea of two products being able to be the same, deliver the same outcome as one. Now, as I say, I'm, as you can probably tell, I'm not an expert on hair care. The only product I take in the shower with me is a duster, I'm sorry to say. But I do know a bit about exec search technology because I talk to a lot of people in that world. So that's where we're going to go, and we're going to talk about how you can get from two platforms to one. And we're going to start by talking about LinkedIn. So as I mentioned, if you're using LinkedIn Recruiter, you cannot extract all of your data. You cannot extract all of your projects and all the rest of it. You just can't do it. What you can do, though, as an individual, is extract your own list of connections. So I suspect most people on this call, recruiters, you've probably got thousands, maybe tens of thousands of connections, and you can extract that. You go to LinkedIn, click on Preferences, and download. Now, unfortunately, LinkedIn does not want you to download your data, and so it gives you as little value as it possibly can. So if you've ever looked at an export from LinkedIn, it's something like this. This is a real export of a subset of my connections. And you can see all LinkedIn gives you is first name, last name, a URL, occasionally, but very rarely, an email address, current company, current job title, and a date. So if you were to take this data and put it into your CRM, would that be any use to you? Nah, probably not really. It's like a phone book with no phone numbers. It's literally just a list of names and companies. It would be of no use, and sooner or later, it would be out of date anyway. So there's very little value taking that and using it as the basis of your CRM. So this is where a concept called data enrichment comes into play. Now, data enrichment is not a concept we've invented. This is a concept that has been around a few years now. It's a technology that is available to anyone, to any vendor, to any company. But basically what it does is it takes skeletal information about a person and supplements it with additional information. So in this case, when we're talking about data enrichment, we're talking about taking very basic LinkedIn export data, the name, the company, the job title, the LinkedIn URL, and you then going and finding publicly available data to fill in the gaps. We can do that because the LinkedIn URL is essentially a unique identifier. So everybody knows that that URL relates to a particular person. So we can use that to find other information from public sources about that particular person. So let me show you what that can lead to. What I've got here is one person. So out of my 11,000 or whatever it is connections, this is one person, my colleague Debbie, and I've exported her details. So as always, first name, last name, URL, company, job title, and a random date. We're going to put that through a data enrichment process. And what you'll get when you come out the other side is something like this. So this is a Talentis record, and Talentis is our CRM platform. What we've done is we've literally taken one line of information about Debbie and enriched it with publicly available data. None of this has been downloaded from LinkedIn or typed or anything else. This is the outcome of that process. So you can see we've now got a photo. We've now got multiple jobs. We've now got a bio. We've now got job descriptions, companies, job titles. You can't see it on here, but we've potentially also got education. All of that information has been built using this data enrichment technology. Now, to be clear, this is important. We are using public data here. And that comes from a variety of sources. So what you're going to get is not necessarily going to be exactly the same as the profile on LinkedIn. You may get more information, you may get less information. In Germany, for example, you may get data from Zing. So it's not going to be an exact match for what's on LinkedIn, but fundamentally, you've got the equivalent of a LinkedIn public profile. That's a bit simplistic, but you get my point. The difference, though, is that once that is in your own database, you've gone from having a read-only profile, which is what LinkedIn offers you, to having a database CRM profile that you can do what you want with. So suddenly, you have a record where you can go in and edit, and I'll come on to that because I forgot about this slide. That technology I've just talked about, the data enrichment concept, you can use it with a LinkedIn export or any other platform. Whatever tool you're currently using, if you're using a CRM or an ATS or something you built yourself, you can use data enrichment to take that raw data and enhance it and update it. So if you have a database now, you can take out the person's basic bio information, update all of it, and keep your private data, your contact information, your documents, your assignment lists, and so on. The outcome is the same. So this is not just about LinkedIn. It's a technology that can be used in many, many contexts. But as I was saying, before I interrupted myself, once the information is in a proper executive search software, you can do what you want with it from a practical perspective. You can add people to assignments. You can make notes. You can edit job descriptions. You can code people so that you can find them again later. All of that stuff that you can't do in LinkedIn because it's someone else's profile that you can only read, you can do. So suddenly you've now got a much more malleable version of the person's profile. So we're now getting something that's a bit more useful than a basic LinkedIn subscription. But the benefit LinkedIn has, of course, is that public data is updated by the candidates themselves. So that's a big benefit of using LinkedIn. It tends to be more up to date. But again, if you are using data enrichment, you can use that on an ongoing basis to keep data up to date. So again, using a platform like Talentis that's built around data enrichment, we can refresh data automatically, or in certain circumstances, give you the opportunity to click a button to run an update process. So again, it's about creating a database that's more malleable and then keeping it up to date. But data enrichment also does even more. So if you recall, when I exported my list of connections, I had lots and lots of people in it, including lots of people working for the same company. Data enrichment allows us to build company information in the same way we build people information. So that export file, when put through this process, ends up with something like this. So you end up with a company record with lists of people you know that work there, lists of people that used to work there, in company logos, what people do, and so on and so forth. So now you don't have this on LinkedIn in the same way. You have your own network in your database linked to the companies that they're employed by. And from then you can start to track your assignments, your business development, you can store documents and everything else. You've got a database. From that very simple spreadsheet, you've got a database of people and a database of companies. Good. So once we've done that, we now have this database. But what LinkedIn is also offering you, which let's be honest is what you're paying for with LinkedIn Recruiter at least, is the search functionality. The ability to search all of that information regardless of whether people are in your network or not. Well, again, in this world of publicly available data, you don't need a LinkedIn Recruiter license to search public data. Yeah, when you're searching Google, you can search people outside your network on LinkedIn, even if you haven't got a LinkedIn network. A LinkedIn subscription. And public data is public data. Anyone can search it. So what, again, we've done with our Talentis platform is build a search tool that searches public data into our platform. So now you don't need LinkedIn Recruiter for its research functionality, because without leaving your CRM platform, you click on public search, and you've now got the ability to search hundreds of millions of profiles worldwide, regardless of LinkedIn network limitations, regardless of your LinkedIn subscription. So the other upside of LinkedIn, this public data pool, you've got replicated again. And actually, in many ways, it's a better solution, because when you're searching in LinkedIn, you're searching in LinkedIn, and you then have to copy the information into your CRM. When you're searching in LinkedIn, you can't see any information from the CRM traditionally. When you're searching in a platform like Talentis, which doubles as your research tool and your CRM, everything is in the same place. And what that means is when you bring up your search results, the system will show you not just the public data on the person, but your internal metrics as well. So in this particular case, you can see that this particular candidate has been on 2 assignments. They've been shortlisted once. I can see the team members in my firm that know this person. If we'd spoken to them before, there'd be a note of the most recent date and so on. So when you're looking at those list of results, you're not just seeing random names, you're seeing names and information about your firm's engagement with them. So you're more likely to choose candidates that are likely to engage because they already know you. And if you want more information, a single click and you are in the full record of the person. So there's no going backwards and forwards like there is on LinkedIn Recruiter and the traditional CRM. Everything is in the same place. So if I want to see the assignments that Simone's been involved with, and obviously this is fake demo data, I click a link and immediately I see the assignment she's on. And if you do find yourself in LinkedIn, you can work the other way as well, because again, all of this public data, all of this data that we're working around is using LinkedIn URLs as a unique identifier. What that means is, in your Talentis database, if you've built a record for this person, we've recorded her LinkedIn URL. And what that means is that when we go to her LinkedIn URL, the Talentis Chrome extension, or Edge extension if you prefer, is able to know whose profile you're looking at and can therefore surface information from your CRM in LinkedIn. So what that means is anyone in your firm gets a phone call from a candidate, they go directly to a LinkedIn profile, click on the extension, and they will immediately know everything there is to know about that person. The LinkedIn profile plus the internal CRM data, all in a single screen immediately. So basically, if you put all of this together, what you've got is a platform which takes your public network from LinkedIn and creates a database around it with everybody using your network on LinkedIn in your database, all of the companies in your database. If you've got 5 people in your firm, bring across all of their networks, merge them together. Suddenly, your entire team, all of their connections are in this same database. And it doesn't matter who knows who because everyone can see everything. Detailed company records. You can track relationships with organizations, who you know at an organization, who you used to know at an organization. A database that you can update, that you can edit, that you can track things in, like any other CRM. And of course, like any other CRM, an Outlook add-in, Word add-in, artificial intelligence, Chrome extensions, Edge extensions, and so on and so forth, all in the same place. And this is where the value really begins to kick in, because like with the shampoo, you're not spending time going backwards and forward. You're not spending excess cash. Everything is in one place, and you are saving a small fortune because you're giving users that previously you were paying LinkedIn Recruiter licenses for similar functionality for a fraction of the cost. Now, in terms of a case study on all this, I thought I would switch back to my original analogy. So this is a search consultant very happily using Talentis to wash his hair. Obviously, that was a joke that I thought would be funny when I first wrote it, but it doesn't really work in practice, so I'm going to delete that if I ever do this webinar again. But if you would like to try the product, if you would like to understand how this might work better, we'd be very happy to set up a conversation with you, talk about the process, talk about how we can take data from your LinkedIn network or from your CRM, if you've got a CRM, enrich it, improve it, and put it into Talentis for you. And if we do that, you can we can set you up for trial as well, so you can have a play of it and get your head around how it all might work. And if you'd like to do that, take a photo of this image, not the previous one, but this image, and it will take you to a demo booking form, or at the end of our session, an email will pop up and you'll be able to book it, or a message will pop up and you'll be able to book a demo directly. I hope that's been interesting. I'd be very happy to take any questions. I'll just pop over to my question box. Yep, I can see I've got a couple of questions. So thank you very much indeed to Andrew, who's asked the first one. Thank you, Andrew. So Andrew is asking if you still need a LinkedIn license if you've gone through this process, if I'm understanding the question correctly, Andrew. Talentis does not care whether you have a LinkedIn license or not. It doesn't care. So the functionality will be identical inside Talentis, whether you have a LinkedIn Recruiter license, Recruiter Lite, Sales Navigator, or nothing. Generally speaking, we tend to suggest that if you're a recruiter, you probably need Recruiter Lite or Sales Navigator or something, purely for things like in-mails. Talentis provides email addresses, by the way, so you don't need it for that. But most of our customers will use a Recruiter Lite or a Sales Navigator or at least a premium account, but it's not required from a Talentis perspective. Virtually all of our customers tend to cut back on their expenditure on LinkedIn Recruiter because it really is not a requirement going forward. Erica has asked if it's possible to import data into Talentis from a specific CRM. She's mentioned a CRM. I'm not going to repeat it because it's the name of one of our competitors. But yes, we can and we have imported data from that CRM into Talentis. And let me answer this, and it's a question that Jono has always also asked or touched on. If you import your data into Talentis, you're not sharing it with other people. You've got your own database, which is unique and only available to you and your firm. The public data is available to everyone, but anything you put in is only available to your firm. So I should be very clear on that. Gordon asked a good question about the differences between exec search and contingent recruitment. From Talentis' perspective, we don't care how you get paid. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is what you want to do, the process you're going through. So if you are placing temporary staff, Talentis is of no use to you. But fundamentally, if you want to build a database of everyone you know and then manage them on a passive candidate style recruiting process, that's fine. That's basically what this product is designed for. James asks if there are options for importing data from LinkedIn without them currently being connections of yours. Not legal ones, James, no, not that I know of anyway. LinkedIn does allow you to export your own personal data, so your contacts, if you've imported that, or if you've imported, or things like notes you've made on the personal account, but you cannot export people that are not connected to you. LinkedIn Recruiter, as far as I know, doesn't allow you to do that either. And yeah, there are tools that scrape LinkedIn, but you need to be very, very careful if you're doing that. Question from Aitor talking about automatic production of candidate summaries. I've not talked about that at all in the platform, but absolutely. So what Talentis has built into it is an AI feature that will take a profile that may have come from a resume or LinkedIn bio and lays it out in a Word document in the format of candidate profile. And what we can also do, if you want it to, is click a button and it will convert that bio into Spanish or French or English or German or Japanese or whatever it might be. I've got a feeling for you it's Spanish, Aitor. I believe we've spoken before. So yeah, that feature is built in. There's a lot that the platform does that I've not talked about in this presentation. But yeah, we can absolutely do that. That's standard functionality. I've had a question from Eric on cost. Cost varies based on a couple of options, depending on whether you sign up on a month-to-month or an annual basis, so on and so forth. But very simplistically, if you assume it's less than £1,000 per user per month, if we're doing it in sterling, slightly over $1,000 US. The process, there's a migration cost if you're bringing up data from a proper system. If you are bringing data from LinkedIn, we are currently waiving the cost. So if you wanted to go through the process I've just talked to exactly and import your LinkedIn connections or your team's LinkedIn connections, right now we are waiving the costs associated with that data import. That won't, as long as you sign an annual contract, obviously. Yeah, so feel free to talk to us about that. Yep, demo request. If you'd like to book a call, Jenny, there's an email that should be going out very, very shortly. Okay, I think that was my final question. So thank you. Apologies to anyone that did come looking for hair care tips. Hopefully you found what I talked about instead to be equally useful. And if we sell any systems as a result of this, I'll be back next month to talk about my makeup tips. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Appreciate it. And feel free to contact me if you have any follow-up questions. Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye.